Colorado's latest Amber Alert was based on a lie, a very stupid lie. Spend dollars in Denver, you'll spend more if Denver voters decide to approve a new tax for affordable housing. For more than 100 years, a fire has burned underground in Boulder County. Now they're going to try to put it out before it can cause more trouble.
It's a pretty significant problem in Colorado and somewhat more extensive than I think people recognize.
And a journey of 45 miles and several decades is about to come to a close, connecting two communities. Let's connect all of Colorado, talking about that and more tonight on Next. Our phones buzzed all across Colorado last night with that Amber Alert out of Pueblo, a truck stolen with a girl inside. The truck was eventually found, no sign of the girl. Investigators now say that's because there was never a girl in that truck. The owner made up the story so police would try to find his stolen truck faster. One crime turned into another crime, caught all of us up in the unnecessary worry and drama with that Amber Alert based on a lie. So let's back up to that first report from last night from 9 News at 9, where the anchor wears a tie and reads a lot of crime stories. There is an Amber Alert just out of Pueblo tonight for a 13-year-old girl. So now, we thought that because police thought that at the time. It was only once the truck was found, no girl inside, that the story began to unravel. A family called police to say that the girl whose photo had been spread statewide on television was their daughter and she was safe at home. Police arrested this guy, the truck's owner, Danielle Reyes. Down in Pueblo, they like to put arrested in all caps because it makes people look more guilty. But Reyes has admitted that he is guilty, according to court documents, admitted that he made up the story of the girl in his truck, used a photo of a friend's daughter, claimed it was his niece and that her parents weren't picking up the phone to confirm the story. Just enough details to be convincing to police. So that is what caused all of Colorado to go on the lookout for a girl who was safe at home. You just want to ask at this point, Mr. Reyes, can I call you Dan? What was the plan, Dan? Like when they found your truck and did not find the girl you said was in the truck, what did you think was going to happen at that point? They're just going to give up on the missing child? Well, found the truck, work's done here. Dan was not a man with a plan, other than to encourage police to get tougher on crime. So they did. Held him on suspicion of a felony, attempting to influence a public servant. At least he got his truck back. Anybody in Denver can tell you the city has an affordable housing crisis. Now, tell people to contribute more money to fix it. We will see how that goes. Our Mark Salinger cracks open our book-sized ballot this November to look at 2R, Denver's sales tax hike for housing.
It's no secret that Denver is expensive. This November, voters will decide whether to increase the sales tax to try and make housing more affordable.
The single biggest problem facing the city is housing affordability.
Ballot issue 2R was proposed in July by Denver's Democratic Mayor, Mike Johnston. It was approved for the ballot by Denver City Council shortly after. If passed, it would add 0.5% to the city's sales tax rate, increasing it to 9.31%. In other words, everyone would pay an extra 5 cents on every $10 spent. It would expire in the year 2064. A no vote on ballot issue 2R declines to increase the sales tax for this issue. The Johnston administration says the tax increase would bring in about $100 million each year to fund affordable housing projects, offer rental assistance to low and middle-income renters, and provide help for homebuyers to purchase a home. The money would mostly be used to help people making at or below 80% of Denver's area median income. For an individual to qualify, that's around $72,000 a year. For a family of four, that's up to $103,000. Supporters of the initiative have raised more than $1.3 million so far. Much of that has come in the last couple of weeks, including a $200,000 donation from Gary Community Ventures, a philanthropy organization that Johnston used to lead. So far, the city hasn't reported any money raised by any group against the measure.
So this is not the only sales tax increase that Denver voters will decide on here in just a couple of weeks. Denver Health is also on the ballot with a 0.34 sales tax increase to help the hospital pay for uncompensated care. If voters pass both these ballot issues, Denver's sales tax rate would climb to 9.65%, Kyle, one of the highest in the state behind Winter Park. at 11%.
This is really going to test Denverites' appetite for tax hikes, because the only tax hike that Denverites have turned down in recent memories, remember when former Mayor Michael Hancock wanted to build a signature arena right before he left office, the Hancock Arena, and voters
still don't have.
Voters like, nah, get out of here with that business. But obviously, I think there's more of a need for affordable housing, right? The question is at what cost?
Yeah, the mayor says that we need about 44,000 affordable housing units within the next decade. If voters were to pass this, which is a big if, they say that would accomplish that goal for all 44,000.
Oh, all right, you learned me up today, including Winter Park's tax rate. Holy cow.
It was a Marshall find.
Wow, Marshall Salinger, credit to him. Thank you, Mark.
Tonight's next question comes from a couple of viewers, including Dave and Karina, confused by a political text message supporting the constitutional amendment for school choice. The message says the head of the state's teachers union is pro-school choice, which is weird, right? Because the union has come out against that ballot question.
School choice itself is statutory. It has been in our program for 30 years. It has broad bipartisan support, and it has worked very well for students for a number of years.
So that was the clip that was texted to voters yesterday, and that was the president of the Colorado Education Association. The message encourages Coloradans to vote yes on Amendment 80, which would change the state constitution to protect school choice, the right of the student to attend any public school for free or to enroll in private school. That is already protected in state law, and as you just heard, the teachers union does not have a problem with the existing law. But the teachers union opposes the school choice amendment because they see it as a conservative group paving the way for a statewide voucher program to divert money out of public schools and into private schools.
There have been a number of attempts over the years to create voucher programs for private schools, and they have always failed, mainly because they have been found unconstitutional. And so the most straightforward way to make something constitutional is to have an amendment and write it into the Constitution. And so now they have a potentially a claim that the state needs to pay for private school tuition.
Advance Colorado, the conservative group behind the constitutional amendment, has denied that putting school choice in the state constitution is some kind of scheme to defund public education through vouchers. So I cannot have been the only one who really only learned about underground coal seam fires when they were investigating if it was one of those underground fires that surfaced and started the Marshall Fire. Investigators ultimately determined that was not the cause. The underground fire just happened to be nearby. Our Evan Krugel shows us how the state plans to finally extinguish that century-old fire burning beneath Marshall Mesa in Boulder County.
We all know when it snows in Colorado, it tends to melt quickly. But when it snows on the Marshall Mesa in Boulder County, some areas are dry within minutes, the result of an underground coal mine that's been closed for decades.
There weren't any regulations at the time that governed how these mines were supposed to be left. And so once they were done, they just moved on.
Jeff Graves says 100 years later, it's left the state in a bit of hot water, with danger lurking just feet below one of Boulder County's most popular trail systems.
There is coal that is smoldering underneath the surface there, but it's, pretty shallow, 10 to 30 feet.
That coal was not found to be a significant factor in the Marshall Fire, but investigators haven't completely ruled it out. So to mitigate future risk, this trailhead will be shut down next week to try and cool those coals.
So this will just look like a big excavation where we dig down about 30 feet, expose that hot, smoldering coal, bring it to the surface and cool it.
Graves says they'll use a mixture of water and soil to reduce the temperatures.
Then we put that material back into the hillside and then recontour it. So the goal is that it doesn't look a whole lot different than it did once we're completed with construction than it did prior to construction.
The full project will take about a year before these trails can reopen. An inconvenience Jeff hopes will be worth it to mitigate fire risk in an area that knows the dangers all too well.
Obviously, there are some concerns with bringing that coal to the surface. Jeff says crews will not be working when it's windy or when there are fire danger concerns. They will also have tens of thousands of gallons of water on site 24/7 to quickly put out any fire that could start as they bring those hot coals up to the surface. Kyle?
This is just wild stuff. Like, I cannot learn enough about this, right? It's just something that like doesn't cross your mind and then you rabbit hole on it. So like, what kind of like landmass, like what kind of area are we talking about here?
Yeah, it's a huge area. That's why it's going to take them 4 months just to do this excavation work. We're talking 5 acres worth of sites where they have to literally unearth these coals, bring them to the surface, mix them with sand and water, and then put them back into the earth. You talked about how you didn't know this existed. There are 38 other sites just like this one across the state right now.
All right, we'll get working on the next story because I want to know where they all are. All right, Evan Krugel, thank you. A gold mine tourist attraction in Cripple Creek has been ordered to stop giving tours after a tour guide died on one recently. State regulators say nobody can go into the Molly Kathleen gold mine until further notice. A tour operator, 46-year-old named Patrick Weir, died there last week. A dozen people on his tour were trapped underground for a time. They're saying there was an elevator malfunction. Investigators haven't said more than that. The mine's last inspection was in late August, and the state says they found no issues at that time. Oh, damn! A judge says a huge reservoir project has to pause because the government didn't follow the rules.
40 miles from Bellevue to Greeley, 40 years in the making.
Mile a year is slow progress indeed, but the plan to connect communities in northern Colorado is almost done. That's next. A judge says the Denver water project to triple the size of Gross Reservoir was approved even though it violates federal environmental protection laws. But I mean, they're already building it, so like, what are you going to do? Because just stopping in the middle could cause a whole damn disaster. So a bunch of environmental groups have been trying to stop the Gross Reservoir expansion since 2018. Denver Water is raising the dam, tripling the reservoir's capacity, and it's going to require that they flood 400 acres of land. 500,000 trees sit there now. Construction started in 2022 under a permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Today, a judge ruled that that permitting process didn't do enough to evaluate less environmentally damaging options. And it didn't look at whether building that bigger reservoir is even necessary. It's unclear what this ruling actually means for the dam project, though. The judge did not order construction to be stopped. She said that Denver Water's going to have to pause for the winter anyway, and she worries that telling him to stop right this minute could compromise the integrity of the dam. So now what? Well, both sides have 2 weeks to submit a proposed solution. So there's a winter storm moving into the mountains, and State Patrol wants truckers to be prepared because chain laws are more broad now than in past years, with the goal of preventing out-of-state truckers from getting in crashes and shutting down mountain roads. The law used to require truckers to carry chains on I-70 between Dotsero and Morrison from September through May. The new law requires the chains on 5 more mountain roads, including US 9 and Route 40. Truckers also are not allowed to use the left lane in some curvy, steep areas like Glenwood Canyon and on Floyd Hill. I'm telling you, Lauren Robinson, if we could get the semis out of the left lane on Floyd Hill, amazing.
Yeah, you know, that whole stretch of area, it can be really dangerous in the winter. And depending on what kind of car you are, especially high-profile cars, well, that increases the danger a lot of times. Right now, 70 degrees at DIA. Cloudy skies out there. We have winds coming in from the southwest at around 17 miles per hour. But let's take a look at our live radar, where we can see right here that we do have scattered showers and even some snow falling across the western slope and into the high country, mostly dying out as it pushes into the Front Range and eastern plains. A couple of stray raindrops here and there push their way through Bloomfield and Boulder, now pushing between Fort Collins and Greeley. The Front Range is mostly going to stay pretty dry as we go through the rest of the evening. But let's go ahead and take a look at our future cast. We go through the rest of the evening and we continue to watch for that heavy rainfall and even some storms across the northwestern corner of the state. Everywhere else looking for very isolated brief showers here and there. We go throughout our Friday and we're going to see more scattered showers and snow off into the western slope and high country. The Front Range and eastern plains not likely to see any sort of precipitation until the afternoon and evening hours. Even that's going to be pretty hit or miss across the urban corridor, with heavier rain showers across the eastern plains late Friday night. And then as we go throughout our Saturday, more scattered showers, but most of this activity is going to stay south of I-70. So we're going to look to see just how many raindrops we could get in Denver. Now, as far as that snow is concerned, we do have winter storm warnings for most of the San Juans, and then the eastern San Juans into the Sangre de Cristos. These areas are under winter weather advisories. This will be another in effect from Friday morning until noon Sunday. So we're going to watch for that. In the meantime, overnight lows mostly in the 30s and 40s, 50s and 60s tomorrow afternoon for our highs. We're going to see those temperatures continue to drop as we go into the weekend with those rain and snow chances, but then sunshine returns, so we're back to mild temperatures by next week.
This anticipation has been, I think, years in the making.
Piece by piece, a trail in northern Colorado has come together over decades of work, and it's almost ready to link up. For the past 4 decades, communities in northern Colorado from Bellevue to Greeley have dreamed of a trail that would connect them. Each community's been working away at their own little section of trail, and one of the final pieces fell into place today.
There's a lot of excitement for this trail. There's no question about that. This is the PAA River Trail. This is a brand new trail. Actually, they just finished it yesterday. They just finished doing the hydromulching and the seeding and cleaning the trail up for the opening today.
This anticipation has been, I think, years in the making.
40 miles from Bellevue to Greeley, 40 years in the making.
Just have been waiting, and yeah, to get out here and actually do it, walk it and ride it is pretty amazing.
It's such a huge regional connection for all these communities to connect everything together.
I remember riding out here for decades, and it's always been a challenge. So today is just a wonderful addition to our community to be able to travel safely and knowing that I don't have to worry so much about automobile traffic, and cars don't have to be concerned with me as well.
And this goes through this beautiful natural area. It's such a magnificent place with all the eagles and the birds of prey out here. You can see 2 eagles back here on that tree right there. They're out there every day. It's just a beautiful place to be, and it's just so serene for people to get away from the busy streets, and they can still cycle and run and walk on a safe trail.
Because I got to do it finally in the day it opened, so that means a lot.
That's why we do what we do. That's why we build trails for our community.
What a legacy to leave for your community. There's still 2 more sections of the trail to complete. Plan is to have the whole 45-mile thing connected by next spring. We are back with your feedback. I understand some of it is spicy. Thank you, Marilyn. Spicy feedback next. Many times here, we have talked about the difficulty, even the danger in our community when we can't agree on the facts. What happens when people choose to live in an alternate reality based on either misperceptions or maybe even lies told to them by powerful people. So in that vein, I would invite you to join me in person to continue that conversation next week at the University of Denver. The event next Tuesday night is free and open to the public, but you do need to RSVP. I'll be having a conversation with DU Chancellor Jeremy Hafner on the topic Media and Democracy. What happens when we can't agree on the facts? We'll talk about the roles of journalists, people in higher ed, and the public in improving our polarized society. You're welcome to come and talk with us constructively or to holler at me, but that would kind of be beside the point. But the event is next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock on the DU campus. Link to RSVP for free is in the next section of 9news.com. Feedback from Kelly, who says, I love watching tonight how all of you work together in reporting, giving credit to others. When Mark gave credit to Marshall for that great fact that he added to his story. Kelly says, it is refreshing to see humility in your journalism. Great teamwork. Kelly, none of this is possible without the team that you see in front of the camera and the team that you don't see working behind the scenes. Chuck says, love your statement about semis in the left lane. They ban it in other states. Maybe you should lead a crusade here. Chuck, we will consider it only once we have achieved total and lasting victory in our first crusade, getting Coloradans to zipper merge. And finally, from ES, an all caps message on X. Kyle Clark is a propaganda clown! Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. That was the last one.